welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. Our guest today is Paul Jakoboski. He's the director of the Gemma Moran United Way Labor Food Center. He is a returning guest, and we'll meet him again when we come back, so stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. Our guest today is a returning guest to the show. He's been on once before, Paul Jakoboski. He is the director of the Gemma Moran United Way Labor Food Center, I should say, and I will also say welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about the Labor Food Center in a brief description of what it is.
A food center that serves the community of New London County. So we're county-wide, first of all. We've been there in our current location since 1999, but we've been in existence since 1988. So we just recently celebrated our 20th anniversary last summer.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And Gemma Moran is our founder, and she came up with the idea back in 1986 and 87, and then finally found some funding and put it together in 88. And she's still with us as our director emeritus and our spokesperson.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, and she's quite the character in the community.
Now, does she do TV shows like this too?
Oh, yes.
Come on and do appearances and stuff like
Yes,
that?
she does.
Yeah.
She welcomes that opportunity.
But today we are fortunate enough to have the director. So, and you have been on the show before. So, you mentioned the Gemma Moran, a little bit more on the history of it, how it started out. How was it determined that way back when it was needed in the first place?
Well, it was a vision of Gemma's that she saw and felt the need for her experience in dealing with the community. She was labor liaison for the United Way of southeastern Connecticut, and in her experience in the community, she was running into people who were in need of food. And she finally put it together and said, asked the United Way for a $5,000 venture grant, and she was awarded that with her proposal to start a food bank, food pantry system so that people could come to the food center and get food for their families and whatnot.
Right.
And they started out with 3 or 4 agencies and then just kept building on that. And today we have 92 different programs.
That's incredible, and it continues to grow.
Yes.
And I would suppose that the need continues to grow too.
Yes. After 20 years, we would have hoped that we would have been put out of business by now.
It's like one place that you really want to go out of business if things are going great in the world.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's not the case.
No, it's not. But I don't think that the world has to be going great to eliminate the food center. I mean, food banking itself is only about 20 or 30 years old, and before that, there were other ways of dealing with things. But I do think it's possible in New London County that we could create a self-sustaining economy that is inclusive, includes all the members of that community. I mean, we should be able to, in my mind, provide housing and food for all the members of our community. We are wealthy enough, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We have the resources to do it, but it's, putting it together and seeing how it's best done.
Now, what determines your sort of geographic, as far as how far, you describe yourself as New London County. Did it start out, obviously it did, much smaller, and it grew to serve New London County. What determines how far you'll go and geographically?
Well, geographically, it's more than that. It's a combination of, we are part of the Connecticut Food Bank and through them part of Feeding America Nationwide. So it's Feeding America Nationwide is the overall umbrella organization, and then there's 2 major food banks in the state of Connecticut. The Connecticut Food Bank, which has 7 out of the 9 counties in Connecticut, responsibility for them, and then Food Shares, which has 2 counties, Tolland and Hartford County. So since we are in the Connecticut Food Bank area, we were assigned by them responsibility, and we are a partner distribution organization of the Connecticut Food Bank to take care of New London County. So any food donated to us stays in New London County. Any donations given to us stays in New London County. And we don't go outside of the county for things either. So that's how that works.
As director, what is your job? What is your role? Is every day a bit different for you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. It's you meet an awful lot of people, but my responsibilities are for the budget and the overall operations with the people. We have 4 full-time staff, including myself, so there's 3 others. And with that staff of 4 full-time people and an awful lot of volunteers, we distributed over 1,600,000 pounds of food last year.
Wow.
So that's a lot of food coming in and going, and a good portion of that food comes from the Connecticut Food Bank and Feeding America nationwide, and they make deliveries to us on a weekly basis. But then a third of it comes from local donations. Everything from, a good part of it is just people walking up to the front door and bringing a bag of groceries and said, I was out shopping and I got the 2-for-1s, or I got this on sale, and I'm sharing it with the food center.
That other percentage, is it pretty much people just kind of almost showing up at the door, or is it more of, like, this show today is an opportunity for you to get the word out, but do you go out to places and sort of make a pitch for donations too, or is it pretty much just them showing up at your place?
An awful lot of people just showing up to the place, but we do work hard at it. The hotels and casinos in this area have industry food shows, and we glean those. So all the food displayed at the food show for commercial interests, we go and pick up after the show is over with, and we bring back to the food center. And a number of organizations help us with that. We get volunteers from EB that show up at the show. Teamsters help us drive the show back, and everyone volunteers to put it together to get the food back to us. And a typical show like that at one of the casinos, we can glean about 35,000 pounds of food from.
Wow.
So that's pretty significant. We have programs with major retailers in this area where they take frozen product and or an unfrozen product, and if its sell-by date is today, say, and you were going to buy some chicken legs, they will freeze it that day if it didn't sell, and then we go to pick it up. So if you'd gone to the store that day, you would have brought it home and froze it, perhaps.
Right.
And they just do the same thing. If it didn't sell that day, they put it in the freezer, and we go and pick it up.
So for you, it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be non-perishable food items, because if it is, you can get it in and out into the community quickly.
Well, that, or if it's frozen.
Yeah, it can last long.
Right, and we have a refrigerated truck now, thanks to the community efforts, and we've had it for 3 years. So we can go around to these different retail outlets and pick up their frozen product and keep it at frozen temperatures and bring it back to the food center. And we have a number of large distributors in the area that when they have product overages and stuff like that, they share with the food center as well.
How long does frozen food last realistically? I mean, because it depends on the food itself.
Yes. Yeah. But to give some typical, a turkey will easily last for 10 to 11 months in your freezer. If you keep your freezer, down to the 0 degree level that you're supposed to. Other things don't last as long. And if it's packaged properly, so there's no freezer burn and things like that, you have to be careful of. But 6 months is kind of a very safe rule of thumb.
Right. Cook it by then, otherwise. Use it or lose it, basically.
Well, yeah.
As we tape the show, it's the holiday season, so I would assume that it's your busy time of year.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We're just before Christmas right now. Thanksgiving is one of our busiest times of the year. We just gave away over 1,134 turkeys. But all the food that goes around those turkeys to make a turkey basket or a good Thanksgiving meal went out the door.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to the Christmas season where we'll be donating a lot of food out for the holiday meals. But people eat 365 days a year too.
Yeah. That was one thing that we were talking about off the air. People, I asked you, after January, once you get into January, do you get a bit of a respite? And you said yes, but you also mentioned that people don't stop eating just because the holidays are over. Right?
Right.
They may eat more during the holidays, but they don't stop eating. So the need and your bank is necessary still, all 365 days a year.
Yes, it is. And sometimes in January and February.